Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this horror movie review as part of my 31 Horror Movies in May series. So today we're going to take a look at kind of a fun horror movie from the 1980s, my favorite decade of horror, and that is The Gate from 1987. So yeah, you can see this cover. By the way, who is that on the cover there? Is this supposed to be Stephen Dorff? Because if it is, who plays the main kid in the movie? But if it is, that doesn't look anything like him, so I think they probably took that picture outside of the actual making of the movie. But anyway, let's just get into The Gate from 1987, starting with the setup, the premise, and the cast. And then I'll get into my thoughts and review, which will be spoiler free. So, The Gate is a 1987 supernatural horror film directed by Tabor, Tabor, Tabor Takacs Tabor Takacs, and starring Stephen Dorff in his film debut. The film follows two young boys who accidentally release a horde of demons from their backyard through a large hole in the ground. An international co production between Canada and the United States, the film was released by the New Century Vista Film Company and grossed around twice its budget. Since its release, it obtained a cult following, was followed by a sequel in 1990 titled The Gate 2 Trespassers, and a 3D remake directed by Alex Winter was in production. It was initially set for release in 2011, but no release occurred at that time. So, some interesting tidbits there. So, the film opens with 12-year-old Glenn, who has a nightmare of finding his home abandoned, then going into his treehouse only for it to be struck by lightning and collapse. When he wakes up, he finds in his backyard workers have cut down the same tree from his nightmare and unearthed a geode. Glenn returns with his older friend Terry to investigate. Though the workers attempted to fill the hole left by the tree, Glenn and Terry breach the surface, finding a large geode. Glenn Glenn catches a splinter and leaves a small amount of blood behind. Glenn's parents leave town for 3 days, placing his 15-year-old sister Alexandria, or Al, in charge. When Al throws a party, Terry and Glenn break open the geode after discovering it has left strange writing on a notepad and read the incarnations aloud. They go downstairs just as partygoers are playing a levitation game. Everyone is shocked when they levitate Glenn. That night, Glenn sees his bedroom wall stretching, and Terry embraces the apparition of his dead mother that turns out to be Glenn's dog, Angus, who dies as a result. The next day, Terry brings a heavy metal album to Glenn's house with lyrics based on the Dark Book. He believes the hole in Glenn's backyard is a gateway to a domain of evil gods, and speculates that their actions opened it. He concludes that the only missing element would be to deposit a sacrifice into the hole. Unbeknownst to them, a friend of Al's dumps Angus's body into the hole, completing the summoning. After reading a section from the Dark Book that is supposed to close the gateway, the boys find the hole closed and assume their efforts succeeded. So, sorry for my mumbling and stumbling around there. It's been a long day. But that's the setup and the premise for The Gate. Cast wise, we have Stephen Dorff as Glenn. First role for him, as I mentioned earlier. Krista Denton as Al. Louis Tripp as Terry Chandler. Kelly Rowan as Laurie Lee. And Jennifer Irwin as Linda Lee. So yeah, that's The Gate from 1987. Like I said, it was a first time watch for me. Had not seen this movie before. And after watching it, I really enjoyed this movie. It's a lot of fun. It's obviously made more for like kind of in the same vein as why can't I think of the name now? Um, Not the Monster Club, Monster Squad. I had part of it right, the Monster Squad, which came out the same year. Funny enough, so it's a PG-13 movie. It's more made for younger kids, I think, but I enjoyed it as an adult. So let's just go ahead and go through the pros and cons of it regarding my review. So first thing, this is a very fun and energetic 80s movie with really good pacing and a dreamlike atmosphere. And that all those things really worked for me. I really enjoyed it. Those things made for a fun watch. And it was very easy to be engaged in this movie as a result. I love 80s movies anyway. In general, I love 80s horror movies even more. And this movie sort of checked all those boxes for me. The practical effects in this movie are really good for the most part. I.e., you have a phone on the wall melting, you have a face of their dad coming off. Wasn't really their dad. It was a demon disguised as it. But just, yeah, great practical effects in this movie, which I think really helped to tell the story of this movie. The three main leads, Glenn, Al, and Terry, those characters in this movie, had really nice chemistry and a camaraderie together, especially for kid actors. I thought they all did a good job in their roles. Stephen Dorff, Krista Denton, and Louis Tripp all did a good job playing those characters. The look of the creatures, and especially the main demon, the bigger demon at the end of the movie, I thought they were really creepy looking, very effective for what they did. Yeah, having used a forced perspective through camera work and practical costume and makeup effects. Also, the use of stop motion was very effective for the look of the demons. The forced perspective being how they made these littler demons work up against the kids to make them appear smaller. They did that through kind of an in-camera trick of forced perspective. I think this movie is really a good introductory to a horror movie for not just kids, young like kids, between 10 and 13 or so, but also for adults or older people that are looking to get into horror movies and don't have a lot of experience with them. This is really a good introductory movie for that because it has creepy images, some creepy moments without anything being too gory or violent. So it really is a good starting place for anybody that's looking to get into horror. And then finally, the good camera work and cinematography in this movie. And my favorite scene in the movie would have to be when Terry falls into the hole in the ground, the gate, if you will, where he has to fend off some of these small demons here. Um, yeah, like I said, it's just a fun watch with a very energetic and 80s feel. Um, Really enjoyed it. As far as any cons go, the story isn't overly creative or deep. It's a rather simple plot, but it's executed very well. You have this gate that's in the ground, buried under this tree that's taken down in this kid's backyard, and his sister and his friend and him have to try to figure out how they're going to survive and how to stop these demons from coming into the world and taking over, basically. So, very simple premise on the surface. Some of the acting from the side characters, namely the friends that visit for the party and the parents especially, their acting's not really that great in this movie. But fortunately for us, they're not in the movie that long. It's really about the three main lead characters, and they all do a pretty good job. Some of the more optical type of effects in the movie don't really hold up as well, like the cyclone that they have towards the end of the movie outside and things like that they try to add in later. Those things are a little bit more noticeable and don't really hold up quite as well. And finally, the way that they vanquish the demons, especially the large demon at the end, is kind of silly. But again, it fits into this movie. They basically use things from around the house, sort of kids' things. Like there's a Barbie doll that's used to stab one of the demons in the eyes, basically, and a rocket ship, which they set up earlier in the movie. They're playing with like rocket ships that they launch and stuff. So that kind of makes sense. But that's ultimately what vanquishes the or helps vanquish the demon. Sorry, I guess I'm giving a little bit more away than I promised. So just kind of some things like that make it for a little kind of a silly wrap up to the movie. But again, these are small nitpicks because the movie itself, these things tend to work for this kind of movie. So yeah, I don't know. I have the Monster Special Edition here, so there are some nice special features on the back, interviews with the cast and crew, some theatrical trailers, a widescreen presentation, audio commentator with the filmmakers. So they're here and they want to meet the neighbors. That's the tagline for this movie. But yeah, it's just a fun horror movie watch. Like I said, much like Monster Squad to a certain extent. The PG-13 movie, a great introductory to horror. So for what it is, I'm going to give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and I'm glad to have it in my collection, quite frankly. So 8.5 out of 10 for The Gate. Comment down below if you guys have seen The Gate, what you thought of it, pros and cons as you see them. Please like this video and hit the little notification bell down below so you don't miss any of my upcoming reviews for this series. And be sure to hit the subscribe button down below as well so you don't miss any of my great horror content. Not just the rest of this series, but what I have coming up for the rest of 2022 and beyond. So, hope you enjoyed this review. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Stay scared. Bye.